Hello everyone, Juxtaposition here. Today's video will be called Brainstorm and Computer-to-Brain Interface. I want to get the acronyms straight. Everything everything you've read over the last 70 years has been BCI, 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 Brain to Computer Interface. It has always been a bald-faced lie. There has never been any DARPA or Department of Defense or weapons research facility that's concerned about human beings communicating with a computer. They are inverted. They are concerned about the computer issuing commands, directives, algorithms, ultimatums from the HAL 9000 supercomputer to the nodes out there on the network. The nodes on the network, whether it be a smartphone, smart television set, a Tesla car scheduled to implode with a lithium battery explosion, killing Angela Chow, for example, or drowning her in an irrigation ditch. Pick your poison. Tesla can kill you 16 different ways from Sunday because the door's locked and you can't escape. Yeah, did you know that? Did you know that? Anyway, what I wanted to tell you about is I'm going to start off today's video with a discussion of the last film that Natalie Wood ever did. It was called Brainstorm, right? And it was filmed in 1981. Natalie was murdered 33 days before the end of that year. She was murdered around between 11:05 and 11:15 p.m. On November 28th, which is 33 days before 1982 New Year's Day. That's the highest level of obedience within the cult. Now, it's not a complicated murder. It's not complicated at all. It never was. It's just that they don't want to prosecute military murder. So you have Robert Wagner, who is sort of an ambiguous, confusing husband. You know that Natalie began dating Robert Wagner when she was 17 years old. For the official record, it's 18. But Robert Wagner was 26 years old when Natalie Wood was 17 years old, and Robert Wagner was sleeping over in her bed up there on Woodrow Wilson Drive in that gated compound that had a swimming pool. And Natalie Wood had lived in that home since she was 16 years old, and she never learned to swim in that pool. She never learned to swim. What a pity. What a pity. Beautiful Natalie Wood. Anyway, she was put together with Robert Wagner. I don't think there was any great romance there. I think it was a typical Hollywood fake marriage. Anyway, allegedly, years later, she discovered Robert Wagner with a homosexual relationship, allegedly, and she wanted to break up, get a divorce, and marry an older man where she had a child. She'd never had any children with Robert Wagner, not ever, even though I believe she had two children, two daughters, but from another man. And years later, she remarries Robert Wagner. For what reason, I have no idea. Anyway, that weekend, she was with her co-star, Christopher Walken, who was 39 years old at the time on that date, November 28th, 1981. William Holden had just been discovered dead in his apartment, not far from where they keep and dock the boat, the Splendor, which is a 55-foot motor yacht. And there was a skipper. They had a paid professional skipper. His name is Dennis Davern, and I believe he was in his late 30s, so it's pretty close to Christopher Walken's age. And you know that Natalie was 43, and you know that the math works out that Robert Wagner is at least 8 years older than is Natalie Wood. So he's approximately 51 years old at the time of the murder of his then wife. There are multiple witnesses that heard hollering and yelling at around 11 p.m. in the pitch darkness of the estuary of Santa Catalina Island, which is about a 90-minute motor ride from Marina del Rey. And Marina del Rey is very close to where William Holden was found murdered on Ocean Avenue, also known as Pacific Coast Highway 1. And yes, it was at a Masonic number 13 house, and he was in on the fourth floor, beautiful, pristine apartment. And that was a murder. That was most definitely a murder. And they called it an accident that he conked his head on a teak end table. BS. Okay, just BS on that story. And they said that Natalie Wood's death was an accidental. They've modified it today in 2026 to undetermined. It's an undetermined death. But juxtaposition, I've never deviated ever. I've said it was a murder in 1981, and I say it's a homicide murder in 2026. I don't see what the problem is here, except you just don't want to arrest Robert Wagner and Christopher Walken, who are cohorts in this murder. They both know exactly what happened. And as far as who threw Natalie in the water, they either both did it together or Robert Wagner did it, and Christopher Walken watched him and did nothing to prevent it, nor did he dive into the water to rescue her. Then somebody tossed the rubber raft, which is called the Prince Valiant. They have a 13-foot raft, a 13, and they threw the raft in after the drowning body of helpless drowning body of Natalie Wood. Look, you have to put yourself in this position. I don't care if you're an Olympic swimmer or not. If I throw you into 53-degree Fahrenheit water in pitch darkness at 11:15 p.m. With no lights, you have no lights. I mean, good luck. Yeah, Marines. I'd say around 75% of Marines doing egress training on helicopters turned upside down in a pitch dark swimming pool of water that's much warmer. It's more like 68 degrees. Like 75% of the Marines fail. Okay. So here's a young woman. Well, she's 43. She's never learned to swim, and you throw her into pitch dark water. What do you think's going to happen? Well, I'll tell you what Robert Wagner did. He opened a new bottle of Scotch whiskey and ordered Dennis Davern to turn off the running lights of the boat. Dennis Davern wanted to turn up all the lights and illuminate the pitch darkness. And Robert Wagner specifically ordered him not to do so. And Christopher Walken didn't do a damn thing to save Natalie Wood. So if it was up to me, I'd arrest Christopher Walken and Robert Wagner, and then I just pit them against each other and rat each other out. And, you know, that's the case. I don't think Dennis Davern had much to do with it. He didn't prevent it either, but he's got the best excuse because he's not directly related to Natalie Wood. Whereas Robert Wagner allegedly accused Christopher Walken of wanting to have an affair with his wife. Although the whole thing is strange that they'd be together on such a small boat. 55 feet is not a very large yacht, okay? It's not for four people. So you have three men and one woman. And so just do the math on that. It's just not complicated. It most definitely is not indeterminate or undetermined, and it's not an accident. Anyway, what you should know is that the 43-year-old Natalie Wood, her first film that she did where she spoke words was with Orson Welles, and the film was called Tomorrow is Forever, where she played a Holocaust orphan child, of course. Anyway, what you should know is around 1947, I believe that movie came out, and she was something to the order of, what was she? 14 years old, 13 years old, something like that. But we learned that tomorrow is not forever for Natalie Wood. We learned that tomorrow was only until age 43. Christopher Walken, age 39, and Robert Wagner, age 51, the most likely suspects to have committed that murder. At the time of that, there was a film production going on. Natalie had filmed most of her important parts in the film Brainstorm, which was not released because of this murder. It was delayed 18 months, and it was released in 1983. It's considered an American science fiction film and stars Christopher Walken and Natalie Wood, also Nurse Ratched, better known as Louise Fletcher, and PT 109, John Kennedy's skipper from the PT 109, Cliff Robertson. Cliff Robertson is in Brainstorm. Nurse Ratched is in Brainstorm. Natalie Wood and Christopher Walken. It follows a neuroscience research team's efforts to perfect a system that directly records and replays your neurological sensory experiences in your brain, including your emotional feelings of particular experiences. And then also the efforts of the corporate company's management, who is working under a military contract, to exploit this device for military ends. That means to murder, harm, or neutralize an enemy. What do you think military ends means? Anyway, after one of the researchers records her own death, it's the Natalie Wood character. She, pardon me, uh, one of the researchers records their own death from having a heart attack, and then her colleagues all join forces to attempt to replay and retrieve the information, which turns out to be problematic because then yet another member of the team had a heart attack, which goes to what could possibly go wrong, right? When you're dealing with DARPA, unlimited money, people like Jennifer Doudna, people like Rachel Horowitz, people like Christopher Pister, Joy Wise, Jamie Kate. What could possibly go wrong? Well, the end of the world. That's what could possibly go wrong. Scientists invent a brain to computer interface, which juxtaposition calls computer to brain interface, that does record the sensations of a person's brain. They also can do pornography films, and that is one of the sequences of this Brainstorm film. Is that they record someone having intercourse and orgasming in this film, as well as a heart attack. So you have sort of the highs and lows all being recorded with computer to brain interface, right? Or brain to computer interface. The characters, Christopher Walken plays Dr. Michael Brace, who is married to the Natalie Wood character, Karen Brace, except they're separated. So they're estranged from each other, and yet they're both working on a military science project, despite that they are separated and not sleeping in the same bed. Louise Fletcher, who is known as Dr. Lillian Reynolds, she is a important person along with Cliff Robertson, who plays Alex Turzen. Anyway, I don't want to do a complete spoiler on this film. It's best for you to look at it yourself. Watch Brainstorm. It's a 1983 film, but it was really produced 2 years earlier in 1981. And it was the murder of Natalie Wood that threw a monkey wrench in, plus it was running over budget. So the mysterious death of Natalie Wood was sort of a blessing for MGM, Metro Goldwyn Mayer, and Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers did the distribution on this film, but it was MGM that created it. Anyway, the reason I'm doing this is that I've done research regarding Stargate and the databases, which are going to roll out all over the world continuously, certainly for the next 3 to 4 years, because we are going to create a brainstorm on the earth. They want to tether every single living creature to the cloud. Every rabbit, every mouse, every sheep, every cow, and every human livestock. Because that's what you are, you're livestock. If you have a real ID, you're tagged just like a dairy cow or a meat cow. All right. And DARPA is throwing the money around, unlimited, right? It's not American taxpayer money. So just get off that trip. First of all, there is no United States America. Number two is the thing that you think of, which is a Swiss bank colony, it's insolvent and it doesn't have any money to spend on data centers nor on computer to brain interface. There's no money. But yet we're spending trillion. So where's it coming from? Well, it's coming from Switzerland, and it's being run through companies like the Battelle Memorial Institute, the Santa Fe Institute, the Stanford Research Institute International. It's being run through the Claremont Institute, the Aspen Institute. It's being run through McKinsey Consulting, Bain Consulting, Boston Consulting. It's being run through casinos, undoubtedly in Las Vegas, because they're certainly not doing a lot of business with retail customers. Anyway, the Battelle Memorial Institute is an American nonprofit which is pursuing many different directions. They're helping students in the state of Ohio using STEM research. STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And of course, what's missing in STEM research education is that there's no ethics, there's no social science, there's no history, there's no basis to understand culture or religion. It's just straight robotic, mathematics, engineering, biomolecular science. You should know that this institute, the Battelle Institute, was founded by Gordon Battelle in 1929, so it goes back before the Great Depression. And of course, it's inextricably linked to the Department of Energy and DARPA and the United States military and NATO forces. So they can say whatever they want. The bottom line is everything to do with the computer to brain interface has to do with military weaponization. It's a weapons program. All right. And they can do what's called a read write interface and overwrite your thoughts in your head. They can dumb you down, they can dumb a human being down using neuromodulation, molecular engineering, and they can dumb our children down the same way, as well as when they go to school or they're homeschooled on Zoom, they'll only learn science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. They won't learn French, they won't learn Spanish, they won't learn Mandarin or Cantonese, they won't learn Swahili. They're going to learn how to make neuro links to monkey around with people, be keyboard commandos for NATO. Completely devoid of ethics, reasoning, uh, rationale, critical thinking. It's not really included because science, the way it's taught today, is dogma. It's um, it's just made up. It's like a religion. It's just a made up religion. All right. So it's not something that's based on independent thought. Science is always in a conflict with itself and reverts back. But anyway, this Battelle Memorial Institute, they're sending and funneling money like a money laundering facility would to the Brookhaven National Laboratory in New York, Stony Brook University, the Idaho National Lab for the Department of Energy. That, by the way, that's where Richard Gage is. He's up in Idaho, outside this Idaho DOE laboratory. The Lawrence Livermore National Lab, of course, in Livermore and in Tracy at Site 300 and Site 200. Also at University of California, Berkeley at Site 100. They're at the Los Alamos National Lab there in Santa Fe or Los Alamos, New Mexico way. And take you out there to the Zorro Ranch and the Gene Hackman murder scene. National Renewable Energy Laboratory and the Alliance for Sustainable Energy, blah, blah, blah. They're also funding Oak Ridge National Lab in the University of Tennessee, the Pacific Northwest Laboratory, the Savannah River National Laboratory. They're also funneling money to Homeland Security, National Biodefense Analysis Countermeasure Center, and to the National Science Foundation projects, which then array the money out into different academic areas. National Ecological Observatory Network, military acronym is NEON, NEON, for the National Science Foundation, and Ohio State University, and the intermediate and high schools in Columbus, Ohio, and University of the Arctic. Yes, there's an Arctic laboratory. That's not all. It also funds COVID rapid testing, which, of course, there is no test for COVID because there's no such thing as COVID. Now, this is all about radiation poisoning and DNA, collecting your DNA under the guise that it's a test. Digital voting, proof of personhood, right? Real ID, verified DNA. They're funding all of that. That's biometrics, eyeball recognition, palm print. The Battelle Institute funds that too. And this is fanning out to every single corporation that's publicly traded in the world, and all the institutes and all the nonprofit think tanks. They're all 100% spending money on human augmentation and what we call computer to brain interface, meaning that this is the only economy that exists. Let me tell you a little bit about STEM education in Ohio, the state of Ohio, which I've already told you that STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, and screw everything else. This provides students with problem-based, transdisciplinary skills, personalized learning experiences. STEM and STEAM, there's another project called STEAM, which supports kindergarten through 12th grade, which is high school seniors. It partners with this nonprofit organization to pimp out the biodigital convergence, human augmentation, and make that sort of a religious belief system. This network of STEM learning offers professional development activities, educational support to inspire the next generation of Ohio innovators. God help us all. They're all going to be dumber than a box of rocks, are they not? They're not going to be able to write a complete sentence. They can't. We already know that these kids can't write an essay. They don't know what a 750-word essay is like. They can't write a paragraph. They can't even complete a full sentence. But they're going to learn how to hack into your brain using your body area network and your smart TV and your Ring camera or your neighbor's Ring camera or your smart meter. You don't need a cell phone, people. Somebody made a comment about me using my cell phone once when I was playing some music on a show. It doesn't matter if I use the cell phone or not. I'm completely and utterly hooked up, hacked to the cloud because of I have four LED streetlights within 400 feet of me, and one of the streetlights is within 80 feet of me. So just the LED lights, the photonic energy tethers me to the cloud. But then I have a smart meter on my sidewalk, so there's another tether. And then my neighbor for several years had a Ring camera. It's been removed. It's been removed. Not going to get into that, but it's been removed allegedly. And so I was hooked up to that Ring camera, and maybe they just repositioned it, but it's no longer at the front door. It's been removed. So what I should tell you is that you have smart meters, Ring cameras, LED streetlights. I have drones over my head every night, helicopters and planes, and then I have polluted air. So there are tens of thousands of ways to hook me up to the cloud without my cell phone anywhere near me. I can put it in a Faraday cage. I could dump it in a trash can in a park across town. It won't affect my unfortunate situation of being tethered to the cloud and subject to being hacked by some 24-year-old keyboard commando for FEMA or a fusion center, which I have a fusion center 8 miles to my west. All right, so anyway, I'm going to post links below to the STEM education program, which is being funded by neuromodulation and computer-to-brain interface programs through Battelle Memorial Research and through programs that were showcased paradoxically by Natalie Wood, Christopher Walken in the film Brainstorm. And I find it hypererotic that it was Nurse Ratched who plays a PhD in that film, Lillian, along with Cliff Robertson. But there you have it. It's Hollywood hiding in plain view. That's military. Hollywood is military, and Brainstorm is a DARPA presentation of humans being tethered to the cloud, as you all are who are listening to this video tonight. Anyway, do check out my prepper video, which I did this morning concerning this business of this business of 24/7 trace, track, and targeting people as we head to a tokenized world. The footnotes, and I'll put a link below to my video from this morning. It's not a video, it's just footnotes. It's strictly ideas. It's not very complicated. It's called Brainstorm, aka BCI, Brain to Computer Interface, or what I call Computer-to-Brain Interface, which is a DARPA NATO program funded through Switzerland, through our think tanks. Okay, you're not going to find this in your federal budget. Okay, it's not going to be there. They're spending as much money as they spend in the national budget. They're spending probably more than that on the biodigital convergence as we go to the AI. I can't stand the AI. AI is just code for enslavement system, techno enslavement system. All right. Do share my videos. Do like them and share them because I am heavily shadow banned, and the only way I can grow my channel is one subscriber at a time. Also, all the platforms automatically unsubscribe people from my channel. Typically, 10 people a day are unsubscribed from my channel, which is a substantial amount of people per day, right? 10 people a day, it's like 3,600 people per year are unsubscribed from my channel. That's one way to keep me down because I'm growing at about that same pace. They've kind of got me locked in to a certain size in the small sandbox. All right. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you soon. Bye now.